The Kindertransport was an organised rescue effort that took place during the 9 months prior to the outbreak of the Second World War. The United Kingdom accepted nearly 10,000 predominantly Jewish children from Germany, Austria, Czechoslovakia and Poland. On the 15th of November 1938, 5 days after the devastation of Kristallnacht in Germany and Austria, a delegation representing Jewish, Quaker and other British leaders appealed in person to the United Kingdom's Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain. They requested that the British government allow the temporary admission of unaccompanied Jewish children, minors without their parents, into the UK. The request was agreed with conditions following a cabinet meeting and a parliamentary debate to allow unaccompanied infants and children up to the age of 17 without their parents into the UK. Each child required a guarantee bond of £50, worth approximately £3,350 today. The UK's Home Secretary, Sir Samuel Hoare, who was a Quaker, said in a speech in November that year, "Today an opportunity is offered for the British nation to take its proper stand, to protect a minority that deserves well of all the nations of the world. I feel that by doing things that are morally right, we shall achieve something which is worthy of the name of the British nation." Thousands of applications from all parts of Germany and Austria were received by the Refugees Children's Movement. Each letter was touchingly written and begged for help. Many enclosed photographs and personal details of the children. The letters were heartbreaking, and it was extremely difficult to choose between them. Those on the committees were forced to make hundreds of individual decisions, a task made harder by the fact that there was no formal selection criteria. The only guideline was that the refugees should be between 5 and 17 years old. In the end, some of the children were chosen by a simple raffle.
Miriam Blumenthal has just celebrated her 16th birthday. A family friend approaches Miriam's mother, Nita, and asks if she has entered the raffle. "What raffle?" Nita asks. "The raffle for a place on the Kindertransport." "I'm not a very lucky person," Nita said. Her friend said, "You've nothing to lose." The family entered the raffle and the name Blumenthal was picked. Then the parents had an almost impossible decision to make, whether to send Miriam or her 14-year-old brother Fritz. Because of the laws in Germany which prohibited Jewish children going to higher education, Miriam, an intelligent student, went to a couture dressmaker to learn the skills of dressmaking. This meant she was able to contribute to the family's income, which had been affected by the situation. Due to Fritz's severe calcium deficiency, resulting in rickets and needing to wear calipers, the parents came to the conclusion that a girl of 16, with the skills she had acquired, could look after herself easier than the sickly 14-year-old boy. She left Frankfurt on the Kindertransport at the end of June 1939, not knowing if she would ever see her family again. It was later discovered that her mother and brother were brutally murdered by the Nazis. Fortunately, her father Marcus, who had been sent to Buchenwald after Kristallnacht, was later released and managed to get to England in July 1939.
My parents were asked if they would agree to send my 3 elder siblings to England with Rabbi Dr. Schoenfeld's group of Kindertransport, as they had just received sponsorship from unknown guarantors. My parents desperately wanted to save their children from their uncertain future, and they gave their permission. My siblings were sent by train to Warsaw, where they remained for a few weeks, were deloused, given fresh clothes and food. In early February, they were put on a train together with other Jewish children and sent to the Polish port of Gdynia. Then we received some amazing news. Someone in England had guaranteed to be responsible for me until I became 18, or until I would be reunited with my parents. Because I was a baby of 20 months, my parents, who had also received sponsorship as domestic servants, received permission to travel to England. We journeyed to Gdynia by train, not knowing that by some extraordinary coincidence, my brother and sisters were traveling on the same train. It was not until my mother looked up and suddenly saw my 5-year-old sister walking down the corridor hand in hand with an older girl that our good fortune became apparent. And so it was that we all crossed to England on an onion boat, the SS Warszawa, on a freezing day in February 1939.
Many extraordinary people stepped up at this critical time of need. One such heroine was Truus Weissmuller, who personally negotiated with the Germans, meeting Adolf Eichmann in Vienna. Eichmann challenged her to organize a transport in just a few days, a task he thought would prove impossible. But Truus surprised him by gathering nearly 600 Jewish children, all without their parents. She arranged for them to leave Germany by train, sending them to what were believed to be safer parts of Europe. Another such hero was Sir Nicholas Winton, now fondly remembered as Britain's Oskar Schindler. He helped 669 children living in Czechoslovakia. They had escaped Nazi persecution, and Sir Nicholas arranged their rescue to Britain on the Kindertransport and found homes for them up and down the country.
4 children. This is his scrapbook. There are all kinds of fascinating pictures in it. Perhaps you can see, this is a picture of Nicholas Winton himself with one of the children he rescued. If you look at the very back of this scrapbook, fascinating things in it, all the letters. But back here is the list of all the children. This is Vera Diamant, now Vera Gissing. We did find her name on his list. Vera Gissing is with us here tonight. Hello, Vera. And I should tell you that you are actually sitting next to Nicholas Winton. Hello.
I wore this around my neck, and this is the actual pass that we were given to come to England. And I'm another of the children that you saved.
Can I ask, is there anyone in our audience tonight who owes their life to Nicholas Winton? If so, could you stand up, please?
What I did 70 years ago is going to have such a big impact as apparently it has. And if it has now got a story which helps people to live for the future, well, that will be an added bonus.
While Trush and Nicholas found many Christian homes for the Jewish child refugees in Britain, another hero, Rabbi Dr. Solomon Schonfeld, was able to save nearly 1,000 observant Jewish children and place them with Orthodox families around the country. He continued to help them with education and employment after the war, as well as rescuing children and parents from camps after the war ended. The newly formed Movement for the Care of Children dispatched its representatives to Germany and Austria to organise the exodus of as many Jewish children as they could. Back in the UK, the British government issued an appeal for foster families. The Home Office required guarantees from each family as well that it would pay for the maintenance, education, training and travel expenses of each child until the age of 18. Initial offers flooded in from over 500 families, and the first Kindertransport departed from Berlin on December the 1st, 1938. It carried 196 children. The child refugees arrived at Harwich, a port off England's southeast coast. On arrival in England, the children were taken either directly to their foster homes or were housed temporarily in summer camps or hostels.
And suddenly, the organising secretary of the evacuees, Miss Olga Braham, came to our house in Torquay and said, "You have so much to talk about the Habonim hostels. You wouldn't take a hostel of ours and have a religious hostel, would you?" So we said, yes, we would. And we got 22 boys and 8 girls. We had 3 sets of twins. The children that were from the continent were Hannah and Jochi Nyman, and Hildegard Nathanson, and a boy called Gilbert Engel. But they weren't all from the Kindertransport. The other children were English evacuees.
The Kindertransport continued to Great Britain until the 1st of September 1939, the day the German troops invaded Poland and Britain declared war on Germany. The last Kindertransport left the Netherlands in May 1940, on the day the Dutch army surrendered to the Nazis. The trauma of parting for both parents and children was to haunt many of those who survived for the rest of their lives. As one Kindertransport survivor said later, "My mother tried to explain, but I could not grasp the awfulness of the situation. To my dying day, I shall never forget the expression on my mother's face." This separation from their parents was to remain one of the greatest traumas the children could remember in later years. As one wrote, "During our travel by train across Germany, we felt the terror of knowing that any act of brutality by the uniformed, compassionless Nazis was possible at any moment. Our first day in Birmingham was hell. It suddenly hit me that we were in a foreign country, without knowing the language, without relatives or friends. And I was trying desperately to be brave, as a 13-year-old boy was expected to behave. I spent most of that day in and out of the toilet, so no one could see the tears rolling down my cheeks." Some foster parents were very kind and hospitable and sent their adopted children to good schools. They fed and clothed them, and they loved them. Other families were cruel to the children, often treating them like free maids, making them scrub floors, clean toilets, and do the family washing and ironing, exploiting them like unpaid servants. Not only did the children suffer emotionally from being separated from their parents, but their parents too agonized, having made the most unimaginably hard decision of their lives. They trusted their children to the hands of unknown strangers that they might live.
My darling girls, it was almost 5 years ago that you journeyed into the world all alone. I still see you there in Vienna in the train compartment, turning your little heads with eyes begging to let you stay with me. It seemed hard that we had let you go. You were both so young and vulnerable, and as we went home alone, it seemed as if my heart would break. believe me, many times the tears rolled down my cheek. Nevertheless, I am glad that you are not here. The strangers you have taken care of you will surely go to heaven. I bless them with every breath. However much you may love them, it is not enough.
Thousands of children who were brought out of that hell to life and freedom can never forget the selfless gesture of their beloved parents and the generosity of their hosts. The efforts of those who took part in the rescue mission of the Kindertransport, which were to save the lives of thousands of mainly Jewish children in that short window at the start of the Second World War, represent the best of humanity.